I've really let the last week slip. It's easy to get distracted with the shiny object syndrome. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today is how we get distracted and learning to stay a course. It's challenging for sure. Hey, what's up? Sorry, I was just distracted trying to multitask. But I want to talk about. Sorry, I'll stop that. Talk about procrastination and distractions and learning to stick to our course because it's quite easy to get that shiny object syndrome when we know we should be doing what we should be doing, but sometimes something pops up. It seems better than what we're actually doing. Hey man, how's it going? Himanshu, what's up? Yeah, so this week has been, I don't want to say an unproductive week. It's been pretty productive, and I've actually had a lot of wins during the resistance. Yeah, I've actually had a lot of wins this week, but I've been distracted and I haven't necessarily put my energy where I know I should have. So I'll tell you a bit of backstory. I entered this competition I had to post a reel online to potentially meet like the UFC world champion, get flights over there, meet him, go on his YouTube, and it seemed awesome. Thank you. Uh, but I knew I should have just kept sticking to the content I post, not just on YouTube, but on Instagram as well, and keep showing up. So I'm slowly growing my personal brand. I didn't even realize I thought I had all my content scheduled on YouTube, but I just had one slip. Like I'm trying to do 3 posts a week, and I usually have one scheduled Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the Friday one just didn't send because I didn't schedule it. I was too busy trying to, win this competition, and I just had someone take lead in the competition. I'm in like fifth place, but they have a massive brand. They have like 200,000 followers, and I have a feeling they're going to take over and win just because of the amount of followers they have. The conversion rate is going to be pretty hard to beat. I haven't given up, but I realized that this time that I spent on and this energy I spent on this competition, I could have been putting into my own work, but I didn't. I didn't put the work in when I know I should have. And that's where I want to talk about the shiny object syndrome. It happens with our finances as well. We know we should be saving and investing, but the neighbors buy a new car and oof, like I can afford a new car or I can at least finance a new car. Maybe I should get a new car. But we know what we should be doing, which is saving and investing. Hey man, all good. My name's Jake. I my content is basically about my path to financial freedom. So I talk about financial freedom, time freedom, which is a big one, reclaiming my time, not just trading my money for my time, which is I work as a first responder. So I literally get paid for the hour. If I'm not at work, I don't get paid. And location freedom. Like I have to be there. I have to be at the physical place, because if I'm not there, I'm not getting paid. So that's the journey I'm on. And I'm going to start uploading like monthly breakdowns of how the YouTube analytics is going and how much money I've made per month on like the side hustles that are working detached away from trading direct time for money. And yeah, so this week I tried to take the shortcut. I tried to win the competition. And the competition, the part that excited me the most was the obviously to meet the UFC champion, but a part of it was you get to go on his YouTube channel, which has like 400,000 followers, and I was like, oh, that would be so good for my exposure, just to get my name, get my like social media handle out there, and to yeah, to kind of fast track this. Appreciate it, man. I'll just share my journey, and if like I'm only a few steps ahead from some people, and I feel like why I'm posting my content is on YouTube, when you look at financial freedom, time freedom, geographic freedom, all the gurus are selling you on bullshit. Like they have masses of following, they have money, and they have the tools and resources to be able to make businesses like that. And they're telling you, oh, this is how I'd make a business in 2006 if I was starting from zero. But you're not starting from zero, bro. You're starting from a multi-billion-dollar company, and you're starting also with the knowledge that you already have. Like you're starting with all that knowledge and experience, where I'm starting from zero. So that's why I'm sharing this content. Going back, I seen the competition. I was like, man, this is a fast track to get my name out there, to grow my personal brand, and to monetize outside by leveraging other people, which I've had a bit of success with, but I've had more success with leveraging people with smaller followings, because I have more to provide. Someone with a big following, they don't really need you. So I try to take the shortcut. If you want to help me out, you can drop a vote. My latest short on YouTube, you can go over, and the links and stuff's in there. But I've realized after chasing my tail, trying to get more votes for this last competition uh, for the past few days, I should have just kept doing what I was doing. And I think this message can resonate with a lot of people. If you have a goal, you've got like a 3 year, 5 year goal, if it's financial, if it's career, if it's relationship, we generally know what the right steps are to take to get there. Like it's common sense. There's a lot of nuances on how to do it to optimize your performance and get there faster, but generally, like an example, I want to lose 50 pounds. Like that's a lot of weight, but we know what we need to do. We need to have a calorie deficit, and we need to move our body, and we need to eat healthy. Like it's simple. That's an interesting question, because I think I was like heading there yesterday, and I'll get into that in a second. But we know what we need to do, and we get distracted. And the question about how do you tackle the days where you feel the lowest is a good question, because they come like roller coasters, and the days where we feel lowest generally come either after or before the days we feel highest. So it's about knowing that whatever season you're at in life is just a season, and it's just temporary. But it feels definitive. Every loss that we take feels definitive. But if we zoom out, it's just one step of our whole picture or whatever we're working on. And I actually just made a video about a concept of, what's the right word? Our ability to learn how to fail correctly, or like taking rejection as well. And I got some stats. I had them written down, but let me just Google them for you, because it's so interesting. When we compare ourselves, we're often comparing ourselves to other people's highlight reels. So this it's one of the most negative things about social media, and that's what I'm trying to bring some honesty and some authenticity to my content, where I'm just a normal guy, and I don't win all the time. I have a lot of losses, but I'm not going to let them define me. So we define ourselves by comparing ourselves to the highlight reels of people that we know on social media and even people that we don't know, but we never see the worst. And when we look at here, Cristiano Ronaldo, right? One of the greatest of all time soccer players. I'm not that much into soccer, but I still know who this is. Holds a career goal conversion rate of roughly 15 to 16% across major European leagues. So his overall shot accuracy sits near 40%. So he's missing 60% of the time. In his European league, he's missing 80%, more than 80% of the time. But we see his, scissor kicks, we see the long shots, we see the headers, we see the highlight reels, and we see the wins, and we also see the discussion of if he's the greatest of all time. But how often do we see the shots that he missed? At the 60% of the time, he missed the shots. And now that he's famous, because he just kept going, he was disciplined. But now that he's famous and now that he's successful, what happens is we see more of his wins because he's putting the effort, he's developed the skill, and he's gotten better at his craft. So if we're trying to do something new, for me, it's posting content online, sharing myself, trying to build a personal brand. The failure and even the feeling of failure is generally front loaded. So his conversion rate was 60% miss, but that would have been majority in his earlier career, where now he would have a higher conversion rate because he's had time to develop his craft and get better and better. And we try something new and we compare ourselves to the Cristiano Ronaldos, to the professionals that have had time to develop and they've lost over and over again. And we don't see how many times they lose. We see how many times they win, but we compare ourselves to the winning stats. And I'm not sure if there's any other sports that you relate to that you would like me to compare, but there is Wayne Gretzky. Okay, so he's a hockey player. I'm not into hockey, but his conversion rate was really interesting. Goal conversion rate. So Wayne Gretzky was considered the greatest shooter, so scorer in hockey history. I don't know the league, NHL, I think, and his scoring percentage was 17.6%. 17.6%. So he, let me do the math here. So his total career goals were 894. So he got 894 goals. His total shots for goal was 5,088, which means that he had 4,210 misses out of 5,000. He missed 4,000 times, and he was considered the greatest shooter of all time. And we compare ourselves. When you think of Wayne Gretzky, if you know him, hockey, you might not know hockey. You're from India. I appreciate that. If you go subscribe on YouTube, all my videos are in the same context of being honest and talking about my journey, because I'm not here to bullshit you. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm just trying to take you on my journey and show you what actually works for me. So I appreciate that. But this guy, the greatest hockey player of all time, missed 4,000 times, and he only got 894 goals. So what does that tell us? That tells us that it's okay to fail. That it's actually encouraged to fail. But the thing about failure is we can't dwell on it. We can't sit on it. We got to get back up and take another shot. And we got to get back up and take another shot. And that one might miss. We get up and we take another shot, and that one might miss again. But we don't let the fails determine our next shot. We keep going. Such an interesting stat. Such an interesting stat. And you can pull this up with any sporting professional. India, can you tell me a good like cricket player? Like one of the batters, maybe. Um, or bowlers, maybe bowling accuracy would be better. Like how many wickets did they hit? Um, but who's the greatest like bowler in cricket of all time? It might be a more relatable comparison for you. All right, let's look. Is he a batter or a bowler? Cricketer, bowler, batter. So stats. All right. Thank you for your patience. Let's. So it only says win rate. It's hard to. I want his actual batting percentage. Let's have a look. Right, I'm just trying to find the most relatable stat, so we can get a better understanding. This guy's this guy's really good. This isn't the best example. You gave me literally one of the best sporting stars in the world. Um, right, so let's go. So Collie, I don't really know. Here we go. Maintains a conversion rate roughly of 42.5%. So turning over 50 centuries out of more than 120 50 plus entries. I don't really know what that means here. Registers of conversion rate nearly 49%, representing one of the most clinical translations of half centuries into full hundreds by any Indian batsman. So there's basically saying that his conversion rate, sounds like one of the best cricketers ever, is 42.5 success to 49, which tells me this guy is amazing, but he still fails over half of the time. He still loses over the half of the time. So he succeeds 42 to 49% of the time, which is an amazing stat, but it shows you when you start to look at sporting stars, an amazing average of success, if it's scoring, batting, whatever, is roughly between like 30 to 50% is really, really good. Really good. And then like 10 to 20 is like good, which shows you it's okay to fail 50% of the time. Half the time we do something, we fail. Now, we usually fail once and we think it's the end of the world. We think we should quit. We think that whatever we're doing was a waste of time. And that's kind of what I was feeling a little bit earlier today and yesterday. I put effort into being in this competition. I put myself out there, and other people were getting more votes than me. And I'm like, oh, it was a waste of time. I failed. I failed. That's what that is what I was telling myself. But that is one post. This is just one competition. And that's where I think a bit of the regret comes in, where I should have just been focusing on my YouTube, my videos, my Instagram, and everything that got me to where I am already. But I got distracted and I tried to do something that I don't normally do, but I I based my success on something I don't normally do on my overall success. And that was my mistake. Where even professional sporting stars that do what they do day in, day out still fail 50% of the time. And that's the best of the best. Most of them fail more. So that's a long way to answer your question about how do I tackle the days I feel the lowest. It's just about zooming out and realizing that was just one day. That was just one fail. It doesn't define who I am. What defines who I am is if I let myself stop here, is if I don't pick myself up and keep going. And I think what helps me keep going is to zoom out to whatever you're facing, to look at it as a day problem or a week problem or a problem that you have in a month or a year. We're going to live for an average of 60 to 80 years and we can still zoom out. All right, have some more questions, ask more. I'm facing 20 years in jail. Do they have YouTube in jail? Or you're about to hop into jail? Or you're just being a smartass? Literally not sure because I don't get any sarcasm from comments. Can I just explain myself? Yep, drop the comments, I'll read them and I'll talk. How do you overcome 20 years in jail? Depends if you were rightfully found guilty or wrongfully found guilty, in my opinion. If you were rightfully found guilty, well, I think you should spend the 20 years to reflect and learn about yourself and why you ended up in that position. Look, Bucko, I am guilty. Well, there you go. That answers my question. Reflect, man. Find yourself. Got any questions? Ask me a serious question. You just missed the awesome part of that conversation and you hopped in at the end. George Washington. It's so funny the names I come across on these lives. I also said, yeah, you can explain yourself. So if you're typing, just keep typing. I was named after an Australian. Yeah, he was a good prime minister. All right, let me read this. I'm a guy. I scored 92% in my 10th class and I'm taking a risk to crack one of the toughest exams. Scored 80%, just missed by 1 percentile to qualify and scored 70% in 12 and considered as a failed student. Interesting. Interesting. I know Asian countries. It always seems weird to call India Asia, but Asian countries have higher standards of the expectations they set on kids, especially coming from parents, on their education scores. Because it's a stereotype, and I might not understand completely. I'm Italian and Australian, so do you want to elaborate on that last one? But 70% is a pass. Um, so like you have to define your success. And are you still young? It sounds like if you're doing these exams, you would still be either like high school, university, college student. Because my wife was a academic growing up, and she got like 99.2%, something ridiculous in her year 12 exam. And then she went to become a bachelor in neuromedical neurobiology. And now she doesn't do anything in that field anymore. And you're 21 years old, you're young. Um, what feels super important right now, your education, the vocation that you're studying, might not be a big part of your life in 10 years. So I think going back to the conversation we had earlier, zooming out a little bit, when we're young, when we're 21, when we're studying, when our life feels like it's revolved around our education. And don't get me wrong, I think it does, like, it dictates basically the status of your job as soon as you leave your studying. But this is just a small part of your life. And you've got many more seasons of life to come. And I wouldn't say you're a failed student. I think you just need a pass, because when you get your degree or your bachelor's or whatever it is that you're studying for, it doesn't say the percentage of your score. It says degree to X person. It doesn't say degree at 97% to X. It just says degree. You, when you go into a doctor's and they have their bachelor's, it doesn't tell you how much, like what percentage they got in their score. It just tells you that they had studied and they passed. That is the only information that is required to become whatever it is that you need to study for to become a professional in that vocation. It doesn't matter what level, it doesn't matter what score you got. That seems important to you, and I think it shows that it's a good sign, because it's keeping you motivated and encouraged to study, which means that you hopefully are taking in more information. But don't let that pressure get to you. Don't let that pressure sink you down, because that's just one of your fails. Like, if we were playing a sport, if we were shooting for goals, if we were batting and playing cricket, you said you were a guy who scored 92% of the time. The toughest exam, you got 80%. You missed by 1 percentile, took qualified and scored 70%. It's just one miss. How's it going to define you? Where you're going to go from here? Hey, Bella, we're talking deep about how we bounce back from losses, and just talking about how 21 is still a very young age. But if you've got any more questions, let me know. Because failure can define us, but it can also mean nothing. Failure can also just be a lesson. And that's often, I come from a martial arts background, and what we say is you win or you learn. But people often view it as a win or loss. We view it as win or learn, because there's so many lessons within our losses. And that's actually what can allow us to improve more than we ever had before. So I hope that's given you a new perspective. Oh, getting tired. I'm waiting for a reply, by the way, because that was a lot, and I'm just wondering your perspective on all that. Also, what is your goal? So you're studying. Tell me what you're studying, and is it actually something that you wanted to study? Is it something that your parents recommended? Is it... Yeah, I'm from Australia. I wonder if it was obvious in the accent. But yeah, let me know. What are you studying? Is it something you want to do for a living? Or what is your goal with your career, your long term? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I can talk about that, but most of my videos on YouTube will explain what I want in 5 years and why I'm chasing financial freedom. Because I want to be able to give myself freedom and not be stuck to one job. Be able to spend time with my family. And I think we all deserve it. We all deserve that freedom. We shouldn't have to ask permission to take time and spend with our family, which seems controversial because we're brought up in a 9 to 5 society. But now I am currently preparing for the UPSC exam and doing a job to meet my expenses. What's the UPSC exam? Yeah, doing the job to meet our expenses. That's it's unfortunately where we all find ourselves, where cost of living is hard and we ended up finding a job just to pay to live. And I believe it's our birthright to be able to have freedom. I feel like humans naturally desire to be able to wake up and decide what they want to do with their day. But we've kind of been indoctrinated into a system that encourages us to go to school, encourages us to go to get a higher level of education, which encourages us to get a job that generally works 9 to 5, even over the weekends. And then where does that leave time for our hobbies with our families? And that's what I use as a bit of motivation to get my financial freedom. UPSC exam is conducted to become administrative head of a city called IAS. Is it what you want to do? Is that something that fills your cup? Is it something that you're passionate about? Is it something that's going to give you more of what you want in life? Yes. Well, I admire that. If you're going to chase something that you're truly after, chasing, I appreciate that. I like my job. I'm quite fulfilled in my job. But there's a lack of flexibility. There's a lack of doing things on my terms. I'm answering for other people. And that's what I'm trying to change. I actually just released a video tonight. I'm pretty sure it's published already. About 5 things I'm doing now at the age of 29 to be able to retire at 45. And it's not that I want to retire. It's not that I want to stop working. It's that I want to be able to if I want to. So I want to be able to make the decision to not need to work. But I'm the type of person who would naturally continue to work. Just because I like to stay busy, I like to have a purpose. But probably not 5 days a week. Definitely not 10-hour shifts like I currently work. Definitely something that gives me flexibility where I'm not dedicating 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day in a certain amount of blocks and I can't do anything else between those blocks. And definitely location freedom where I don't have to be at a designated area. Oh, so if any of that resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Watch the videos. If you watch any of the videos, leave a comment so I can see that you're there. I'm live quite often, so hopefully I see you back in a live and I can chat with you. But we can chat through the comments in my videos. So subscribe, hit the notification bell. Any video that catches your attention, just hop on there, watch it, give it a like, give it a comment, and I reply to all my comments. So I appreciate the conversation we had today. I struggle much in my starting days selling books in railway station to open a bookstore in Tier 1. Is that is that what you're doing just to pay for the bills? Um, yeah, I've been through that struggle. You're still 21. I think you're gonna face a lot more struggle because it's just you're young, and generally we start off with more lower paying jobs when we're young because we have less experience, we have less education, so we don't have as much like high income earning opportunities, and we have to struggle. Up until I was like 25, I was working as a martial arts coach, which was something I really enjoyed, but I didn't have much income. So what I was doing, I was driving Uber Eats, and the stereotype from someone from India from about someone in Australia is that we probably come from a lot of privilege. But my parents separated, so I didn't have much support from my parents. Um, I don't get any financial support from them, so I'm doing it on my own. And I was making as much money as I can from the experience that I had through martial arts coaching. And then I was just doing Uber Eats. So I was doing breakfast run. I'd wake up, I'd get in my car, I'd drive to McDonald's or to the fast food places, pick up food and drop it off for breakfast. Then I'd go home for lunch. Then I'd go teach. And then after teaching, I'd do more deliveries and then I would go home. So you're going to face those struggles and you just got to keep going. Okay, two big questions. Investing all my investment. Is this in terms of you opened a bookstore last month and that's where you put in all your investments? My initial response is awesome. You're young and to invest into something is good because you're young, you have time for your investments to compound. My second thought is we want to not put all of our eggs in one basket. So what I mean by that is, and this is one of the points in the video I just released. So I'm gonna hop off this live relatively soon, but watch that video and I talk about diversifying your investments. Because if one investment doesn't perform how we would like, if we have multiple different places that we're putting our money and allowing it to grow, if one thing drops, we have all these other things that are still going. But if we put everything into this, there is a 50-50 chance, or not 50-50 chance, especially if you're making a store, you have the ability to control its success. But if it does really well, then it was a good investment. But if it does really bad, we have no other options or we haven't got our money anywhere else working. So I like to invest, I like to diversify my investments. Personally, because you brought up the conversation, I'll let you know how I invest. I invest in my retirement fund. So in Australia, it's called a superannuation. In America, they call it a 401k. So that's a tax benefited. So you don't get taxed as much. A tax benefited account where you can only take it out when you're 65. So it's a very long-term investment vehicle. I have my self-managed brokerage account, which I can take out any time, but it gets taxed more. But I don't mind paying more tax if it gives me more freedom and gives me the liquidity to be able to take it out when I want. And my plan is around 50, 45, 55. So within that 10 years between 45 and 50 to take that out. And I invest in ETFs, so primarily Australian stock market, the US stock market, and international. And then I investing in my house. So I have my house and we're paying off the mortgage. and I'm investing in myself, trying to grow my personal brand, and I'm working on a few side hustles and businesses. So you can see if one thing doesn't go well, there's multiple different places where my money is growing. So that would be my only advice. But you're young, you're 21, invest your money, put it into stuff that can grow long term. That's my biggest advice. Okay, let me read the next one. In my language, what is the definition of success? The definition of success to me is to be able to decide how I spend my time with doing what I desire. That is the, if as simply as I can put it, to be able to choose what I want to do when I want to do it, not have it dictated or controlled by anyone else. That's as simple as I can put it. I can explain a lot more, but yeah, doing what I want when I want, but more having control of that. Okay, can you explain your brand? I use the word brand uh, not as like a product, a personal brand. So I am the brand, Jake. So I'm growing my social media. My Instagram is close to hitting 3,000 followers, which isn't a lot, but I only started like 6 months ago. So I'm growing, I'm making content. So I used to just be on my phone, watching people, consuming, never creating. 6 months ago, I started to create videos and I started to put it out there. And I'm slowly putting my face out there with a message. On Instagram, it's just about being a new dad. So I talk about what it's like being a dad. I show playing with my baby, doing activities, and a little bit of the martial arts I do. So that's my branding on Instagram. And on YouTube, I talk about my path to financial freedom. And as that grows and as my following grows, I will have an audience. And the audience, when you have an audience, when you have a personal brand, when people see your face and recognize you, that audience now becomes an a tool to be able to monetize. So that's what I mean when I say brand. I'm talking about my personal brand. And you can think about anyone. You can think about famous sports people. We know who they are. And if they were to start working with a company, we would value that company because we trust that person, because we've seen them over, we've watched them, we know who they are. So the more I put myself out there, I get my face on camera, I talk about what I believe in, people that resonate with it start to build trust. Even like this live, we've had a conversation, we're developing trust. Hopefully, the goal of building my personal brand is I connect with people. They build trust because I'm having conversations and I'm explaining about my journey. Then they go to my YouTube, they subscribe, they become a part of my audience, and then they watch my videos. And then they engage. And if they engage with my videos, YouTube will continue to push out my videos, and my videos will get more views. As they get more views, I will get more people, and they'll build more trust, and I'll grow my audience. And then potentially brands will see, well, Jake has a large audience and multiple people trust him. So we can give him a sponsorship, a brand deal. So that's what I mean by personal brand. And it's just one of the ways that I'm investing in myself by sharing who I am. But I appreciate that. That's very kind words that you just said there. And hopefully that you resonated with anything that I just said. Um, but yeah, I'm not looking to make like a physical brand like Nike or anything like that. Just me. The only thing about my personal brand is it's kind of split into two versions of who I am. There's one version who you're receiving right now, who's very honest, authentic, just sharing my journey, and mainly about finance, business, work, and personal brand and YouTube, and how I'm making money and how I'm becoming free from requiring to work at a job. And my other brand is me as a dad and doing activities with my baby and being a relatable parent. The guidance you give to me is more valuable rather than Nike or others. I I don't know if this is correct, but this is what I believe. Now, people are trusting less big corporations because there's less human experience. People realize that chasing designer brands and logos isn't actually giving them much fulfillment. It's not helping them become who they are. For me, I wear basically the same thing every day. I just wear normal grey or navy blue shirts, and I have a few like superhero shirts because it's something I kind of enjoy. I have like Dragon Ball Z shirts and all this other stuff. But I don't buy Nike, I don't buy Hugo Boss, I don't buy Ralph Lauren or any of those big brands because they're not able to represent who I am as a person. When I wear a grey shirt, there's nothing here for you to assume who I am. You just have to assume who I am by my face value. No, I got gifted this. I'm not a fan of Captain America that much. Dragon Ball Z is my main thing, but this is my like bedtime shirt. Instagram, you can connect me on Instagram. It's the same handle, Jake Newton's Law, no space. Same as my YouTube, just in Instagram. But this is a great place to connect. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll get a notification for all the lives I do, but videos I upload Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So consistently. I don't edit my videos. I turn on the camera and I talk. Because also talking about the brands that you said about giving you more guidance than those. When people cut their videos, when they try to make it flashy, they're trying to keep your attention. They're trying to give you like dopamine hits because people don't have a strong ability to maintain their focus and attention on the internet. And to be honest, they're not the people that I'm trying to connect with. Because if you need flashy edits and lights and sounds to keep your attention, I don't think that's a good, positive habit and value to be able to have long term success. You need to be able to sit down and listen to things that aren't there just to capture your attention. And for someone to studying, it's like watching a lecture. Although I'm not talking about a specific topic, I'm just talking about life. I think this type of video is much more authentic. It's like we're having a conversation. It's like you're sitting down with a friend and talking. And that's the type of content I'm looking to create. I'm looking to be a type of friend who's on a journey to financial freedom and we're having a chat about the journey. It's not, I'm a financial guru and this is how if I was to start making money in 2006, this is what I would do. But they're not starting to try to make money in 2006. They already have millions of dollars. They already have hundreds of thousands of followers. So their advice isn't relatable to someone who's actually starting off at zero and trying to make money in 2006, 26. I don't know if I said six the whole time, but yeah, 2026. It has to be relatable. I constantly look for people on social media now that when I'm trying to learn anything, that are just a few steps ahead of me. So not lots of steps, not all the experts, just a few steps that are relatable. Whew, I'm tired. I think I'm going to head off. I've enjoyed this conversation. This has been really fun. Hopefully you have subscribed or liked or follow, and hopefully I see your comments in the future. And I will always comment back on anyone who comments on my videos. So hopefully we can continue this conversation and you can keep me updated on your exams and how they went. And I'd love to talk to you on another live. So thank you for your time. I'm going to bed.